And then, the whole idea is to invest. But without further ado, I wanted to say thank you to Anthony. You've given everyone a snapshot of kind of what we do on a monthly basis, actually, in terms of the fundamentals. And you've also given people a snapshot of what you do when we do step 2, which is where people analyze the portfolio. What do they have? What is the starting point of what you've got, and how do you optimize your portfolio? And that is really why I wanted to pivot to Neels, because Neels has only been in this journey for a month, 2 months maybe, Neels, I think, in terms of the process. And Anthony, I just want to thank you for your time, dude. You're very welcome to stay on if you want. But what I wanted to do was to give people a feeling from what it's like from the other side of the fence for Neels, because as he said in this little WhatsApp that he sent to me, it can be overwhelming. All this language is overwhelming. How do you learn it? Neels, what I wanted to do is stop sharing here and just pivot to yourself and say, tell us a little bit about your journey in that process, because this is an overwhelming space. You arrive, people talk a funny lingo. No one like you're almost too embarrassed to ask the question because you don't know what to ask. What's it been like for you, going through that, experience, and also, you and your wife have been trying to invest and you've done a lot of stuff, but what's it been like sort of starting to clarify and understand this language of investment,
Hey, good morning. Morning, Scott, Anthony, Shane. Yes, sorry for being late. I had urgent meeting this morning.
You were
late. But I'm here.
We're all good. You're on time, and we can hear you. Michael joined us on Monday, and we couldn't hear him, so it's all good.
Yeah, yes. Look, our journey with you is like 3 or 4 months. I mean, I think I must give some background here just to explain why we joined the mastermind group in the first place. I mean, yep. It goes back, there's basically 2 reasons. We joined the group over the last, I would say, past 9 years. We basically started investing or doing international investments. Now, when we started off, we saw a lot of specialists, trust specialists, international financial experts, and lawyers and all kinds, because we wanted to set up a structure that we can basically use going forward with all our investments. But the end result, for several reasons, is that they basically all said that, no, you don't have enough to invest, your portfolio is too small, and you should rather invest in your own names, which we did. But this comes to a problem because, by 2022, we basically had 3 financial advisors. We had PSG, we had Brenthurst, we had Anchor, we had property in the USA through a company there, lots of tax issues. We had investments going on in the UK. And we basically realized that it's actually all over the show. It's chaotic. So we were looking for a solution and someone to help us with this. And that is when we joined 1 or 2 of your webinars. But if you remember correctly, we basically joined 2 webinars, and then I joined the mastermind group, because at that stage I already knew what I want, and we really needed more info and knowledge about the asset classes and alternative investments. And I think it was August or September when we got introduced to Calio Capital. And so in general, I would say our experience with Calio was very, very positive. And I'll explain to you why. With the other advisors we had in the past, is they were all nice people, and they know what they're doing in their small field, but they are normally one of hundreds of advisors in a company, but they are not the decision makers. And typically what you get is you don't ever get a holistic view. You never get advice on taxes. You never get advice on where to go, how to do this. Nobody takes your hand and help you. They'll just refer you to someone in the company with some knowledge about something, but they don't know where you're going. And it became really frustrating. And that brings me back to Calio. I always, when I went to the Calio meeting, it was an in-person meeting with Garth and Anthony. We always had in our back of our minds the thing that, yes, okay, this is just going to be the typical financial advisor. We hope it wasn't like that, but that's what you expect. You're going to go through the things, you're going to end up paying commission, and you're probably never going to get advice, and they're never going to take your hand and help you. And we really needed help and advice. And there's 4 things that really stood out for me. The first thing was on our first meeting, Garth and Anthony was there in person. It was in Johannesburg. And that was something new for us. I mean, we've never had this. We know they are very, very busy. And we know they are some of the decision makers in Kalia. But this is something that stuck with us because it's very difficult to work with employees that only know something about this small field. I mean, here you have 2 people that got loads of experience, international experience. They connected, they understand what's happening in the US, they understand what's happening in the UK, tax implications. So we were quite impressed. So then Anthony took us through the, basically through all our portfolios. He made a summary of all our assets, all our investment in shares, ETFs, unit trust funds. And although we really knew this, we saw it ourselves, but the picture that he put on the table, I mean, the summary basically confirmed what we always knew. And that was that a big percentage, I can't remember, 45% of all our investments was basically overlapping. We were not really diversified. We knew this, but it was actually worse than we thought. And to see it on paper was really a fantastic thing. And funny enough, as I always say, as I told my wife the other night, is that we did the same with the previous advisors. We gave them all our data. We gave them our share portfolios. We gave them info into our assets in the US and the UK. They never made a summary like this. They never even considered it because in the end, they invested in exactly the same things. Overlapping shares, overlapping ETFs. And that was our frustration all the time. And Anthony gave us a very good summary. It took a lot of work, I'm sure of that. And that we really appreciated. So then they basically presented us with a proposal of how we should structure these things, what we can do, how can we remove all this duplication. And they even gave us advice on our property in the USA, which we really appreciate. For the first time, someone basically comes up with a plan and put their names behind it. Because, you know, the other advisors normally just do whatever their company tells them or what is best practice at that stage. So we found that very positive.
Also, Neels, there's also, sorry to butt in, but there's also very few people that can talk cross-border. So like they're very good at talking about their box, but suddenly
Yes.
property in Texas, and it's like, oh no, sorry, we don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly. That's a huge problem. I mean, there's implications in everything. And it's easy to tell people to, you know, go to speak to this specialist or that specialist. But in the end of the day, we ended up taking all the decisions. They never took any decisions, and they really didn't guide us. So this was different for us. Someone is trying to tell you what to do and why, and take responsibility with you. I found that very positive. And then, you know, Anthony and especially Garth discussed the tax implications of these moves. You know, what's going to happen when you move these portfolios, when you sell your shares and you move it to them? How can they help us to do this to avoid unnecessary taxes? They even gave us some advice on our US property and how we should go forward. You know, so all 4 of these things basically for me was new. I've never experienced this. Now, you know, because we knew why we came onto Mastermind and what we wanted, it was an easy decision for us. And we decided to go with Galileo. And we are basically now within the last week or 2. I mean, we've almost transferred most of the portfolio. The last few documents was handed in last week. We're almost ready for the share trading. So yes, I think in the next 3 or 4 weeks, everything will be in place. We're also busy with our property in the US and in England. It's a bit longer process, but we know exactly where we want to be and where we're going. You know, of course, in the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, I can only tell you in 6 months or a year or so if it was worth it. But this is the first time we feel that someone can actually look at our things holistically, summarize it for us, come up with a positive plan and back it with their own names, and then take your hand and help you to do this. Nobody's perfect. There's always administration issues and things that has to happen, and this take a bit longer, and that goes. But I would say the overall process with Kaleo was exceptional.
Awesome.
Much better than we had.
No, that's fantastic, and I appreciate you giving the feedback. And I fully acknowledge what you're saying, Niels. The proof's in the pudding and everything else. But one of the things that I wanted to share was more your human experience of being through, not the financial experience, the human experience of, you know, again, we're all kind of lost in the woods and not knowing what to do. And everyone we go talk to, particularly if we're wanting to go international, there's no one that has a holistic overview. They all try and stick you in these boxes, no matter what the boxes are. And so what I've always appreciated when I hear your story and other people's stories, no, it's a holistic experience. And it kind of, it speaks more to the human part, which is the peace of mind and the, you know, okay, hang on, well, got someone here who can kind of hold my hand and come up with it, you know. So I just wanted to kind of talk to that. And I mean, you wouldn't have heard because you weren't on earlier, but, you know, Derek, who was a farmer, you know, literally used the word phenomenal 2 weeks ago. It was the same thing. Like for decades, he'd been trying to look for someone to hold his hand, and now he finally has it. And, you know, for me, it's not, Kaleo is not for everyone. I get that. And we're not trying to, this is not a Kaleo classified, like in the thing, but for the right type of people. And again, that's why I'm part of the mastermind, for the right type of people that know what they want, and you know, they can really be a solution. And that's one of the reasons for me, I always talk about information and partners. And I think my job is to go out and find the right partners. I don't, you know, if you talk to me about tax and structuring and pension funds, like I've got no idea, literally no idea. But what we are good at is going and finding the right partners to help people with, you know, in that process. And that's one of the reasons why I so appreciate the partnership we've got with Kaleo, you know. But yeah, just that human experience, I just want to, you know, highlight what you've spoken about. The financial returns, hopefully for you and you know, the family will come. But it's the human part that you've been through. Now it's the financial part in terms of the execution, you know.
No, definitely, Scott. I mean, it is so stressful not to know where to go. To have financial partners and advice. I mean, just the connections that you gave us with Kaleo and others, bring us in contact with these people to understand it. It makes a world of a difference. It takes a lot of stress off your shoulders, weight. It's actually a very positive experience, especially in the world now with all these uncertainties. But from a human side, I mean, this was a phenomenal experience. And it happened so fast for us, but we were ready for it. I mean, because we've been sitting on this for 1.5 years, just frustrated, don't know what to do. But I believe, you know, going forward, it's going to work out. Whatever is going to happen on the financial side, I feel that we have proper partners in you and in the mastermind and with Kaleo. It's a very positive experience. It's a positive, relaxing feel. We've been through a very difficult three months now with all the administration to do these things, you know, to move it, to shift properties. But it's almost done, you know, and we can see the end. So, yeah, I think it's worth it. Definitely worth it.
My last question to you, and I know you joined Wealth Going Global originally, and you made me this comment here, you know, something along the lines of listening to all the Zoom meetings has made a huge difference understanding the investment options. I don't feel stupid anymore when having discussions with the likes. Of course, I don't know enough, but at least I can follow opinions, comments without being completely in the dark. It's so liberating. Just talk to us a little bit about that evolution. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like learning investment language, like learning Mandarin, like whatever, you know, and almost having the peace of mind to talk about it now. What's that been like in terms of, because you've obviously been, and again, to be clear to you and for everyone else, this doesn't happen by random. Niels and his wife have invested their time and their energy to come and do Wealth Going Global and to learn the lingo and to be part of the mastermind. Like, it's not like a little a microchip that you just stick in your head, but you've been prepared to put in the effort. And what's it been like learning that language? Like,
No, just Scott, to be honest with you, I mean, we thought we knew some things about investments and financials, but obviously in a specific asset class or two. But you tend to, if you don't understand something, you tend to avoid it. And we knew that we basically knew 5% of what we should, just on a basic level, and just to learn the terminology or understand it when someone speaks on a webinar or something and they say something, you immediately know what it is. It makes it so easy to engage and learn more. It's not a struggle anymore, because we found it as a struggle. You read these things, you immediately lose interest. You don't understand it. You don't know what it's about. You don't know the risks. It's just too much, and we found that it was made quite, you presented it on a very basic level initially, and then you got your discussions on a specific asset class. It's still on a basic level, but it made sense for us. And it's actually very nice now to go and listen to any webinar, and all these words pop up and you just know what it is. It falls in place. And it literally took us 2 months to understand the basics. I would still say we are very, very, very beginners in this terms, but it's not our field. We are not financial advisors. We don't work in the financial world, and we have to rely on other people to do it, and to advise us. But just to understand what they're talking about has made things incredibly more clear over the last 2 months. It's actually a wonderful experience. I'm glad I basically skipped all the Wealth Global seminars in the beginning and just moved straight to the masterclass. I could do it because I had some experience. That is also true. But I still follow the Wealth Going Global as well, so I'm still in both and still learning. And but my opinion is it's worth it.
Awesome. As
soon as you can, get as much of yes, and even when you do the seminars, we sometimes don't understand it, in the mastermind, and then I just go through it again and I sort it out, and that helps so much, But after repeating it 4, 5, or 6 times and bring up the terminology, it sticks, and then it becomes clear. It becomes easier. It's basically repetition of a lot of things. So yes, very positive.
Awesome. Well, Neels, thanks so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. For me, I always think there's real value in real people, real stories. And, a lot of people hear Anthony talk. I've sort of already mentioned this, and they literally go into overwhelm. And we've all been there, literally every single one of us. So I just wanted to kind of share your experience, and I really deeply appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And thanks to you and Catherine, and I look forward to seeing your results,
Thank you, Scott. And just one comment. You will feel overwhelmed. Most people do. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be open to ask, and just do the repetition. Just follow the course. Go watch the video clips. It will stick somewhere, and it will start making sense.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Neels. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cool, guys. So I'm going to pivot now quickly, and before we